Out wide to Prunster, and West Perth can go for a bit of a jog down the outer wing now.
This is the WAFL Grand Final 35 years ago.
Day gets away from Bauskas, puts the ball up into the pocket. There's Watling.
How times have changed. Not only do they seem to kick the ball more, the goal umpire, in the slightly naff white hat and belted coat, has today become full-coloured, sponsored, and to sections of the crowd, even desirable.
There was a Fremantle game I was umpiring, and there was some women in the crowd, and they're yelling out to me and say, "Goalie, goalie, you're single." And I was just ignoring them, and then they kept going at me and I said, "Look, pat your bum if you're single." So I thought, oh yeah, I'll just have a bit of fun here. So I did, and then you hear this big cheer in the background. Yeah, it was good fun, just helps relieve a bit of the stress.
Now, it may be that in his spare time, the man with the white flags back in 1975 was also a lion tamer or a Michelin-starred chef. Dave Shawcross's life also has several facets. Tax consultant during the week, goal umpire on the weekends, and then there's Everest. More from the Himalayas in a moment. But first, be honest. How much thought do you give to the man or woman between the posts? Probably not a lot. Well, you should know that the rules governing their attitudes and interpretations on game day are precise, right down to their kit. Shirts, cap, black pants, socks and boots. Pen, pencils, erasers, scorecards, and those flags. 4 of them. To be employed for a goal in pairs, thus.
From the starting position, 11 and 1 on the clock face, flags will be brought across once, back once, and down to the sides, ensuring the flags don't cross in front of the face.
It's actually a very interesting story, because I never really wanted to become an umpire. It was never a thought in my head. I had an unfortunate circumstance of a marriage breakdown, and my brother was an umpire at the time. He was a former field umpire in the WAFL. He'd been retired for a few years, came back as a goal umpire, and suggested I come down and become a goal umpire. And I said, look, not really interested in wearing a white coat and a white hat. Just didn't want to look like that.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. But in the end, with Dave unable to think of anything better to do on a Saturday and the white coat banished, he went to umpire school.
Modern football is based on moving the ball quickly, and the goal umpire must be physically conditioned in order to achieve the best position from which to adjudicate. As a person becomes physically fatigued, their concentration level drops, as does their capacity to perceive events. The higher the level of fatigue, the greater the drop in concentration.
Most people who excel in the umpiring area, they also excel in their out-of-football careers. Find there's a lot of professional people involved in umpiring. So I think it's the dedication, the commitment, the attention to detail, the preparedness to put in the hard work, and take on the advice that you get from other people and work with it and try to improve every day. Always looking for something that that will test me, that will sort of push me to the limits of what I think I can do.
And that's a neat segue back to the Himalayas, to an expedition Dave and 2 mates made to Nepal. It was an idea that came over a drink. 3 fit, late 30s umpires wondering what they should do while still able to do it. Base camp, Mount Everest, of course.
It was a bit of an adventure into the unknown for all of us, because I'd never certainly done anything like that at all in my life before. Base camp, it's actually up in the Himalayas. It's 5,500 metres up in the Himalayas. It is actually the first camp, base camp, because it is the base of any expedition to the summit of Mount Everest. So it is a starting point. Beyond that point, it then gets very dangerous and it's high risk. At base camp, oxygen is about 50% of what it is at sea level. Once you go above that, it gets less. About every 1,000 metres, it gets about 10% less. So up to base camp, it's hard going, it's hard work, but it is achievable, and you don't need any special equipment to achieve that particular destination.
Well, that's it. We made it all the way. Top stuff.
I learned a lot about myself, and from a physical point of view, I wasn't sure whether I could do it. You know, there were a couple of times where, you know, we literally had to go up, you know, vertically 600 metres, and that was really tough. You're literally walking 10 metres and stopping and resting for 10, 15 seconds to get your breath.
Hi guys, I'm Dr. Watts. I'm one of the doctors down at the HRA, and I just wanted to let you know that your buddy made the right decision today. It looks like that he has high altitude pulmonary edema, and so what that means is he had fluid leaking into his lungs, filling up his lungs. His oxygen level is really, really low. He's really lucky and really smart that he followed Charlie's advice and came on down, because the only thing that would have happened was that he would have kept filling up in his lungs and basically would have drowned in his own fluids and died if he had kept trying to go up. And so he made a life-saving decision. Now he's on oxygen, doing better, and getting helicopter evac'd in just a few minutes to go back down to Kathmandu. So good luck to you guys, and listen to your bodies next time, okay?
You know, we were aware of altitude, the potential for altitude sickness. We'd done a little bit of research. We knew what it was, but we didn't really know what the real symptoms were personally with the onset of it. And unfortunately, a day before we got to base camp, one of our party of three, he came down with signs of altitude sickness, and he had to return down the mountain, and he actually got helicoptered out back to Kathmandu. It pushed me to my physical limits, and I'd say it is the hardest thing I've physically done in my life, and that's to put aside all the pre-season training camps, even when I was playing footy when I was younger. You know, I probably learnt that I actually enjoyed the isolation. When I got back, I'll be honest, I thought I'd done it, and I wasn't really motivated to go again. But about a year later, 6 months later, I was pretty much putting the photo book together for the guys and myself, that I relived the adventure.
His bags are already packed. In a few weeks, Dave Shawcross is going back to Nepal. There's some unfinished climbing business. But more immediately, there's another goal within his reach, and it's all to do with waving those white flags between those white posts on game day in the WAFL.
To come back this year, knowing that the record for goal umpires was 319 games and I'd finished on 300, I thought, yep, there's 23 rounds in the year, throw in a state game and maybe some finals and I'm a chance. 18 years ago, it would have been the last thing going through my mind was setting a record. And I remember probably talking to the current record holder about 5 years ago. I said to him, I said, you know, mate, your record's safe. There's no way I'm going to be umpiring long enough to hit your record. So I've even surprised myself to be able to get this far.